My colleagues at the head table, my brothers and sisters who are here with us this evening, at our first meeting at this location in San Fernando, and in San Fernando West to be exact, I want to join with all of my colleagues in welcoming you and thanking you for coming. You may not know who is seated here, but in our midst we have two persons from Sangre Grande who drove all the way to be here. We have one from Arima. We have people in Port of Spain, Diego Martin, from all the way in south. And I think that we'll want to pay special tribute to all of you, some from Central, for attending this meeting. And I ask you to give yourselves and join with me a round of applause. Only recently, about a week ago, we were very privileged to learn about the two presidents medalists at Cape. I want to take this opportunity, as I would have been involved in all aspects of education, to congratulate the two girls from St. Augustine Girls from Warrenville, one, and the other girl from Holy Faith Convent in Couva, but from Enterprise. And that is the constituency I think I would have represented, and I see one of my colleagues here from that area of Enterprise. So as we congratulate them, I want to also, as I'm speaking about education, that we take lament and we are very disturbed when we look at the education system in some parts, and particularly the videos that are going viral with deviance and indiscipline and physical fights at our secondary schools. There's no doubt that something has gone awry and wrong, not only in terms of what is happening in the school, but when I did my diploma in education, we were told that the home is the first school. And therefore, when you come to these meetings, people say, well, we're hearing plenty talk, but we're hearing plenty solution. So I give you a solution immediately. And when we get into government, one of the things that we will do and going to do will be to ensure that we return spirituality, ethics, and discipline into all our schools at all levels. And that could be done. We are going to be witnessing students writing the SCA exams very soon. And one of the things that caught my attention this week as well is two articles. And I want to start by making reference to them, since my remit is to talk about education and jobs. But while I'm talking about education, I want to pay tribute to my friend. We went to Presidential College San Fernando for 7 years together. And he was the chairman of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Curtis Manchun. When you look at San Fernando now and San Fernando West, and you pass by Sapa, we used to have a bustling environment of knowledge and education at Sapa. That has closed down. As I talk to you today, 8 years ago, we had completed in part and to start the Faculty of Law of the University of the West Indies at the Penal Bay campus 8 years ago. Whenever I pass on that road going to DB, it breaks my heart to see even what the pavilion looks like. If you see 4 square buildings, those buildings we constructed to hold 100 dormitory rooms, so that students from the south, from north, from Cedras, from Guaya anyway, could have come and stayed there and go home on weekends. It is in bush, abandoned. But I give you this assurance as well. If we have anything to do with decision making in the future, we will open the University of the West Indies South Campus. And not only will those 124 acres of land which we have there be utilized for UWI, the plan was for us to use that to not only have law but other faculties. I see one of my friends here, a very distinguished scholar and practitioner, an expert in the energy sector, who worked for many years with BP. We're going to bring some of those programs closer to where the natural resources of this country are. We are going to put COSTAT on that facility. We already constructed a moot court. We're going to have, believe it or not as well, Roy Tech was going to be there. People do not know. The predecessor to that campus started at Naparima Boys College. And do you know what were the classes we had there? UWI classes with degree. And Roy Tech now continues to operate there. While we have grass taking over brains in this country. But I tell you something, just as we opened the UTT Aviation Campus in Camden and we said, the slogan was from cotton cane to flying plane. We'll move from the grass fields of the South Campus to the brain fields of Trinidad and Tobago. You know, when I have something here and I think I want to even use it. I'm so passionate about education and training. I am seeing an article by Joshua Simongal talking about unemployment rate leaves people distressed. You know, when we go to school, one of the things we do when we graduate is say, well, you're looking for a job or work. And when you finish that, you're looking to start a little family. But you can't do all that if you're not working. Sparrow said, you can't make love on hungry belly. So when you finish and you graduate, there are no jobs. Yesterday and today, I want to look at the papers tomorrow. You may see an article coming out in the papers tomorrow on the nursing brain drain. These 2 days, Friday and Saturday, being held in Port of Spain, there's a company that came to Trinidad to do what? To recruit our nurses to work abroad. And do you know, while we opened the Eldorado Nurses Training Academy for Allied Health, because that was a facility utilized only by a class of 10 people practicing music at the Eldorado Girls Youth Camp. And when I asked for it, and they asked me, what you're going to do with it? I said, we're going to train nurses. And we had a cooperation between COSTAT and UWI. We were turning out thousands of nurses. Do you know what has happened? They have closed that down. I'm seeing Dr. Rampol here with us. Do you know what they have done since? They say they're going to move it to John Donaldson in Ryson Road. Well, it's still on the move. Nothing is happening. So when I looked at that article by Joshua Simongal, it bothered me. Because if you ask persons, and I'm sure you may know young persons who may talk to you and say, help me get a job now. And you tell them, because Kishore Satram from Sangre Grande was in charge of it. The only place people find comfort and solace is let's go and apply for an OJT job, on the job training for 2 years. You can't even get that. You know what is the success of OJT? You have to go and find an employer who will accept you and tell the office, I have somebody who will take me to work. Is that what we are coming to in this country? And as I see Howard Maraj here, in coming down the road, he reminded me that I should say something. So I'll say it now because he's going back up with me. He was a counselor, an insurance executive. He said, I want you to say when you stand up to talk, that hope is not about dividing. Hope is about uniting. We're not here to split any vote, to allow anybody to continue to emasculate and to take us down the political precipice of this country. We're not here to malign. We're not here to bad talk. We're not here to undermine anybody. We are here to unite once again this country to take us forward. I am reading President Irfan Ali. Mr. Chairman, I want to ask you to give me a note to stop. Whenever I'm ready, whenever you will look at the time. I am reading President Irfan Ali of Guyana. You know what he's announcing? For International Women's Day, that Guyana will train 500 women in HET. So let me tell you what HET is. Roll, heavy equipment training. So I called somebody at a company. You know, you can't say which company you're calling these days. The next thing somebody will say, is he talking to somebody inside there? I called somebody at a company that I know well. I said, I want you to tell me something. Are you involved in heavy equipment training in Guyana? Yes. We opened the first drilling academy at UC St. Madeleine of the NESC. Apostle John Kiragonanan was one of our campus managers. And I had planned that in spite of the fact that we were going to drill oil here and continue to do so, when I saw what was happening in Guyana, I had planned to get permission to take the oil rig to Guyana to train the people there in oil and gas. And we in CARICOM, and we our brothers keepers. So when I look at another article, and it says that we have a new category or categories of workers to come into Trinidad. The CARICOM lists have moved from 5 categories to 12. I have no problem with CARICOM. I love CARICOM. But I ask the question, if this government is allowing people to come in to do various types of jobs, what about the jobs for our nationals in this country? You know, I have never seen so many people standing outside of a supermarket. Right. Time. Right. 2 minutes. Standing at the side of a supermarket with a placard, begging for money, begging for food. Let me tell you something. I am the person that is responsible for constructing what is now called the Ministry of Agriculture in Chaguanas. It was never that. It was the Ministry of Tertiary Education and Skills Training. And I got 15 acres of land where that building is. That building is sitting as the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries. You ever pass and see a bundle of bodi growing there? You ever see a tomatoes tree growing there? And as I conclude, I just want to end by answering the question I'd asked before. As I talk about people coming from all over the country, we have a person here who is with us from Miami, and I told my colleagues that we will be asking for international support and party groups in New York, in Toronto, in Miami, in London to start with. And therefore, as I conclude, I don't want to just end with a lot of passion and rhetoric. I want to tell you, because people ask, they'll say, so you're talking, you're singing good, but what's the solution? What will hope do? So I'll tell you some of the things I'll recommend to my colleagues for hope to do. We are moving from a generation of resignations to a generation of migration. So I will propose to hope that we give tax breaks to the private sector companies that employ university and other graduates. Secondly, I recommend we provide incentives for higher education and post-secondary education. Institutions that produce graduates are in high demand skills. It's not just about doing courses, but contributing to the economic development with the necessary skills. Thirdly, we'll expedite remote work policies. Tim was asking about policies, both within the public and private sector, to cater for graduates living in rural communities and unable to take up jobs due to the cost of transportation. Fourthly, we will strengthen the digital infrastructure. You know, you're hearing so much talk in this country about digitization and this and that. Tim will tell you the trauma he has to go through to do registration for certain things. We will also ensure that more services are accessible to provide for SME growth, small, medium enterprises. We'll enter into negotiations with Karim for reciprocity of mobility for the same classification of workers to move across the region. Not only what you have coming here, but what we could send for you too. And finally, we will educate the employers on the CVQ. I want to tell you, and I want to say it loud and clear, the first country in the Caribbean to initiate and to release and to award the CVQ, which is the Caribbean Vocational Qualification, is Trinidad and Tobago. And it did that through CXC. And a lady who lives in South, and she now, I don't think she lives here anymore, she was the registrar of CXC, Dr. Lucy Stewart. Now CVQ is the yardstick for us moving through the vocational sector. So I want to thank all of you for coming, for listening. I want to thank the chairman for giving me 2 minutes extra. And we pray that Almighty God will bless us, that we'll move from strength to strength. My wife will always say, where the twos and the trees are gathered. And we'll move from the twos and the trees to the multitudes in the near future. I thank you.